Hey you, it's True with a quick review of the new ZEUS. And of course he's a Storm SSR, and of course he's a she. Now, the god of absolute dominion has a speed of 507, which is decent. And her first active skill is called Disabling Strike. +2 spirit, 30 time unit cost, 300% damage to one enemy, 600% damage instead if the target has 100 time units or more. This ignores damage reduction effects, skin passive skills and the counter stance status effect. Now the first time each enemy is damaged by Disabling Strike since entering the battlefield, it has a 20% chance plus 20% per awakening, means a 100% chance at full awakening, to have its active skills disabled for 50 time units. Yes, this is the third unit in the game that comes with the disable mechanics. However, this active skill comes with the awakening scaling and it only works the first time a unit is damaged by this. Disable cannot be repeatedly applied by this one. Still, it's very good because it cannot be purified. And using this skill will also unlock Oblivion Blast upon use. And then it can only be used again after Oblivion Blast has been used. So she will go back and forth between these two. Her second skill is called ZEUS's Blessing. Gives 3 spirit, costs 70 time units and is the hardest to unlock. Because ZEUS needs to defeat a non-conjured enemy with an attack. And if she uses it, she is granted 3 charges. All non-fire and non-water allies on the battlefield are granted sleep immunity for 100 time units, stun immunity for 100 time units, although this cannot apply to stun absorbers like Avatar, Ludmilla or Light Anya, and the armor status effect, granting 50% damage reduction from the next attack. Then all allies on the battlefield heal for 1000% of the user's attack and have the current time units reduced by 50. So definitely a very nice skill. Moving on to her most expensive one, that is called God Storm. 3 spirit cost, 30 time units, stuns a random enemy for 100 time units, then stun a random enemy for 200 time units, then stun a random enemy for 300 time units. Slight downside here of course is that this can also hit stun immune enemies. However, some very nice thing is that one random enemy, after these stuns have triggered, that still has 50 time units or less, will have their active skills disabled for 50 time units. Godstorm is locked for the first 3 turns the user gets while on the battlefield, and then again for 100 time units after each use. Her last active skill that was already mentioned before is called Oblivion Blast. 0 spirit cost, 90 time unit cost though. And this one deals 300% damage to one enemy, 600% if the target has 100 time units or more, 900% if it's 200 or more, 1200% damage instead if the target has 400 time units or more. This is an execute skill, and her only one at that. It also ignores counter stance and skin passive skills. Notably, while the damage scaling is quite high against high time unit enemies, this does not ignore damage reduction effects. Now moving on to the passive side, Godly Lightning. This unit's attacks ignore Guardians and heal this unit for 100% of total damage dealt, so she has lifesteal, but the really interesting thing is that all of her attacks can ignore Guardians. Well, that's only 2, but still. She is also immovable, something extremely important nowadays with Momotaro around. ZEUS has sleep immunity and stun immunity, however, that gets removed when she activates ZEUS's Blessing, which in turn can only be used if she already got an unconjured kill, but still that will make her weaker afterwards, to be more receptible to these effects. ZEUS also comes with a counter skin, a classic one, so if she takes damage from an attack, she will get the next turn, but all attacks that ignore skin passives will not trigger this. ZEUS also enters the battle with 3 charges, and at the end of each of ZEUS's turns, if she has exactly 3 charges, all enemies on the battlefield that have a current time unit of 50 or less are stunned for 100 time units. If it's 2 charges, it's the same with 100 or less and a stun for 200 time units. And if it's 1 charge, all enemies on the battlefield that have a current time unit of 200 or less are stunned for 300 time units. Then a charge is consumed by this unit. So for her first 3 turns, the passive stun will be quite insane. Any non-stun immune or get turn mechanic using enemies will have to be afraid of this one. And that was just her first passive. The second is called Omnipotence. ZEUS comes with a hold ground. She also comes with the same healing mechanic as Kronos. Each time any unit gets the turn, she will heal for 30% of max HP. She also comes with 200 time units of burn immunity after entering battle. And each time she takes damage from an attack and survives until after the end of the turn, she will heal for 50% of max HP and also be purified, removing status effects like sleep, burn or poison, excluding deep sleep and lethal poison of course. But this is a very nice status effect that was originally on Masamune but got removed as it was not mentioned in the skill descriptions. Now one last part is quite interesting. Her attacks get an additional 0.25x added to their attack for each enemy on the battlefield that has a current time unit of 50 or less. Which means if all enemies have 50 or less time units, all of her attacks will double, and this does stack on top of enrage effects and other attack increases. This one is quite nice for her, I think, because while she is geared towards stun of course, she was given some weapons here in terms of attack scaling if she's facing a stun immune burn team, for example. So that's her entire skill set. Thanks to Exo's support, you can already see some battle previews of ZEUS' performance in this video. But unfortunately my review capabilities are quite restricted due to the holidays. I was really hoping that Caesar would give us this week off. But ZEUS is here to stay and a new light reset will follow soon afterwards. Overall, ZEUS is a strong stun support unit and every stun team should at least get 1 copy of her. Yes, there is some awakening scaling, but I think she already brings quite a lot to the table at 1 copy. Ideally, you fully awaken her, then you can fully utilize her skill set and also her damage output. Granted, she needs to go back and forth between the disabling strike and her only execute skill Oblivion Blast that does not ignore damage reductions. However, both of these attacks ignoring Guardians is a plus. ZEUS herself won't die easily against non-execute skills if she isn't poisoned. The healing can be really strong, but yes, she doesn't have innate armor, just the temporary ones. And once she gets the first non-conjured kill and uses ZEUS blessings, she is basically on a 100 time unit timer to get another kill and use ZEUS' blessing again to regain her stun and sleep immunity. There are some interesting hybrid opportunities as well, especially if you don't run water or fire teams. But generally speaking, the biggest synergies are with the top storm units like Kronos, like New Anya or Masamune. As mentioned, poison is one of her major weaknesses. Interestingly, especially cursed sleep hybrids could be a problem there because avoiding the sleep might make her all the more susceptible to getting that poison. On the other hand, maybe the poison enemies get stunned heavily anyways. So generally speaking, she has some means to become overpowered, but is balanced out by a few weaknesses, both on her active and passive side. Another thing to note is that all disabling units, or units that have some disabling effect, so far made it into the top 2 of my SSR world rankings and thus in the SSS tier, but that was only New Anya and Kronos so far. I'm not convinced yet that ZEUS has what it takes to get to the top 2 though, even though her Purify on hit is quite nice against something like Frostburn as well. Then again, don't take my word for it and keep an eye out for her on the battlefields. I would strongly recommend waiting until the lucky fountain of the new year hits. Then you will also get some fountain rewards, and we might also already have a better picture of her impact on the battlefield, as well as an upcoming new unit. That's it. Merry Christmas if you are celebrating, and as always, thanks for watching.